Hello everyone, Faye here, coach of the Glasgow Gliscorers, and welcome to our draft analysis for Season 10 of the International Battling League, or IBL for short. Before we get through the mods, I want to thank the mods for letting me join, because there were a lot of requests and only 12 spots for the coaches, and honestly I'm just glad I get to play on Wi-Fi pretty much right after coming back. Now the IBL rule set isn't much different from what we're used to, with the usual bans on moves and most of the unanimously broken mons. It is low tier Terra, unlike SDL, with a budget of 20 points to spend on Terra Captains, 10 cost and under, so that allows for some fun Terra shenanigans. I'm gonna try not to make this 40 minutes long this time, but I don't make any promises because I'm a natural yapper. But anyways, yeah. So, we were the fourth pick in the draft order, which was great for round 1, as it meant we basically had free pickings of all the top tier mons, and being very close to the will pick makes it easier to draft mons with good synergy, and it's a nice change from always being in the middle of, or close, or dead last. So yeah, that's about it, and without further ado we can start introducing the team. Our first and most significant pick of the league is a mon that I wouldn't normally see myself taking, as it doesn't really fit my playstyle all too well. It is an extremely powerful mon though, and with a non-insignificant amount of clear pressure from KJ and Killua, I finally caved in and picked Chien-Pao. Now don't get me wrong, this mon is a beast, there is no doubt about that. With a high attack of 120 and amazing speed of 135, its offensive prowess is undeniable. Further boosted by its abilities Sword of Ruin, which lowers the opponent's physical defense by an insane 25%. Its stat combination is incredible offensively, and it has priority for both stabs and Sucker Punch and Ice Shard. So why do I not really like this mon? I guess it's just very one-dimensional. Chien-Pao does one thing incredibly well, but it really can only do that. It's pretty much relegated to being your offensive wall breaker or sweeper. Its move pool is very barren. You'll typically be picking between 7 to 8 moves at best when building. So I feel like that makes prepping for it a lot easier, same as Chi-Yu, where they are great threats in like standard play, like small gun play, where you're not sure they're coming, so you have to have something in the back for them in case they come. But when you know they're coming, you can have specific answers for them, and I feel it makes it a lot easier to deal with them. But still, despite all that, it's undeniable that Chien-Pao is unparalleled at what it does, so I'm excited to put it and myself to the test and see just how much this mon can grow on me, like many have done in the past. So we now have a Chien-Pao, which is a pretty frail, hyper-offensive mon, and one I'm not used to playing with. I felt like I needed something that complemented it well, and most importantly something I'm very comfortable with, and as a good Gen 8 player, Corviknight was just that. Its typing works well with Pao, being a steel type that resists fairy while not being weak to fighting. On top of that, Corviknight can support our offensive ice type by keeping those pesky rocks off the field with defog, arguably being one of the best defoggers, if not the best defogger in the game, and allowing Chien-Pao to take the boots off sometimes. One thing I really like about Corvi is how it's not just a passive wall, but it's capable of dishing out very respectable damage with Brave Bird and Body Press among other moves, sometimes even going full on offense. It has recovery, U-turn, setup potential, it really has it all, with the stats and move pool to fulfill its role of defensive wall next to a beast of a wall breaker. Corviknight is going to be an amazing team member, as it's always expected to be, and was probably our easiest pick in the whole draft. My accent is all over the place, but anyway, speaking of easy picks, the next one was just that, because I chose Annihilate, which at round 3 I felt was pretty insane, but maybe it's just me not being used to post DLC 2 meta. But anyways, this monstrous undead ape is just what we needed to cover Chien-Pao's biggest weakness, with its ghost typing making it immune to fighting type attacks and also allowing it to act as an effective spin blocker. Ape has always been a pain for me to fight against, what with bulk up sets, Scarf or even AV, it's just always a huge threat. Its signature move, Rage Fist, which gets a 50 base power boost each time Annihilate takes a hit, paired with its excellent bulk and high attack stat, makes even hitting this mon a risky endeavor, meaning you usually need at least 1 or 2 dedicated answers to it. Not to mention that after a couple bulk ups, it can usually just heal back up and deal massive damage with Drain Punch. Its Defiant ability is also of great help. discouraging our opponents from bringing Intimidate mons, which would otherwise be a nuisance for our team, as well as punishing defoggers. Now, to be honest, I'm not the biggest Annihilate fan either, because I've never really enjoyed using it in OU for the time that it was legal, and I just have a bit of bad blood with it. But I never tried it in draft, and just like with Chien-Pao, I'm ready to have my mind changed. At the very least, I'm glad I don't have to face it. Now, with our pick number 4, I wanted to make up for the devastating snipe that happened in round 2. I wanted Galarian Slowking, but predictably it didn't make it to me. But all was not lost, as its cousin from Johto was still available, so we got Slowking. The main reason I wanted this Pokemon is its move Chill Reception, which lets it switch out and set up the snow. Not only is it great for gaining momentum on such a slower generated mon, and for overwriting the weather, it also pairs extremely well with our main guy Chien-Pao, with the snow weather giving ice types a defense buff, making our Weasel a lot bulkier on the physical side and giving it an easier time setting up a Sword Stance. Not only that, but Slowking's natural typing and stats go extremely well with our current team, giving us a fire and a fighting resist, and a special wall which we were missing up until now. Its move pool is also great, with it being one of the chosen mons that retain Scald, as well as Future Sight, Slack Off, and a great deal of cover his moves. Yeah, I feel like Slowking is going to be quite good and pretty invaluable in some matchups. By round 5 our team was shaping up nice, but we were leaning a little too much towards the slow and bulky types. So with this pick I aim to fix it. I wanted something speedy and specially offensive, and one mon really called out to me, that mon being Raikou. This is finally the type of mon I like. Other than being my favorite of the legendary beasts, and the clear proof they're not dogs as this is a saber-toothed tiger, Raikou is a greatly underrated mon. With both speed and special attack of 155 and a very respectable 90, 75, 100 defensive spread, Raikou can fulfill its offensive role remarkably, whether as a Calm Mind setup sweeper or one of many for attack sets. It's not lacking in coverage either, unlike a lot of the electric types, with moves such as Aura Sphere, Scald, and Shadow Ball, as well as Trailblaze to boost its speed, and Weather Ball, which could be really funny with our Chilly Reception Slowking. But yeah, Raikou is just my type of mon, a fast and versatile offensive threat, and one I can't wait to hopefully put to good use. Shame it couldn't Terra, but while it would have been awesome, it would probably be a bit too broken. Now I felt like our next team member needed to fill two fairly important roles. Either a Fairy type, a grounded Poison type, to ensure we don't get destroyed by Toxic Spikes, or both, which there is two mons on the board that can accomplish both of those. One being Galarian Weezing, which was my first choice, though sadly it was sniped last turn, so instead I got Fezantipity. Well, I was pretty happy with this. Fez is a bit of a weird one with a few notable flaws. First, its speed stat of 99 is just very unfortunate, being just 1 point under the common 100 speed tier, though it's still useful making it a less passive support mon, with relatively fast Taunt and Tailwind. Its offensive stats are also very lackluster, especially its special attack at 70, which it would really like to be higher to make a more effective use of moves such as Moonblast and Sludge Bomb. But still, Fezantipity is not a bad mon by any means, with its decent physical and really good special bulk. Its ability Toxic Chain is amazing, giving all of its moves a 30% chance to badly poison the opponent, which is the same chance as Scald, so very high, making it a real nuisance to switch into. Its defenses also compensate for its low offensive prowess, allowing it to take multiple hits and set up with Nasty Plot, Sword Stance, Calm Mind, or Agility. Overall, I'd say I'm looking forward to trying this thing out despite its flaws. I think it may surprise us. The next mon is one I'm super excited to have drafted and is going to be the first of our 3 Terra Captains. It is Arboliva. I absolutely love this mon. I've been a believer since Gen 9's release. It has once again very good defenses, especially its Spadef, and an excellent special attack stat of 125. It being a normal type is great actually, as our team is looking very Ghost Weak, and it has an amazing ability in Seed Sower, which sets up grassy terrain after being hit with an attack, boosting its Grass Stab and giving it recovery. It has a great move pool with supportive options such as Anchor, Leech Seed, and Screens, as well as offensive options like Earth Power, a variety of grass moves, Hyper Voice, Alluring Voice, and more. This is a mon that greatly benefits from Terra, offsetting the many weaknesses that come with its typing, as well as giving it more coverage through Terra Blast, which can be run as a normal stab as well before terastallizing. I've chosen the Fire and Fairy Terra types, alongside normal, to counter its many weaknesses like Fire and Fighting and to a lesser extent, Bug. Terra Fire also benefits from Seed Sower, with the terrain having the power of the very common Earthquake. I mean, we've pretty much all seen what this thing can do in Pokémon's SPL season, right? Hopefully our Olive can perform just as good. Now, the next role we needed was a rocker, because we can't rely on Annihilate to set them up every time. That mon needs to be more offensive, or needs to have the ability to be more offensive. And I'd had just the right mon in my sights for a couple of rounds now, which is another mon I really like using, Mudsdale. Mudsdale is a greatly underrated mon which never feels like a big threat but always puts in work, whether as a stealth rocker, an iron defense set, assault vest or a choice band user. It's mostly seen as a defensive mon, and rightfully so, between its 100-185 spread and the ability Stamina, boosting its defense by 1 stage every time it gets hit, but it also has an amazing 125 base attack stat, making it great at punching holes in enemy teams, and allowing it to dish out lots of damage even with little to no investment. This boy has it all. Great ability, bulk, offense, move pool. All it's missing is speed, but who needs it when you can take most hits? I feel like that's the motto for most of my team. I considered making it another one of my Terra Captains, but ultimately I figured my next 2 months would make better use of the privilege, but I can always switch it to it if I think it could use a buff. Now, looking at our team, I thought we definitely needed at least one more fast mon. And luckily there was a nice and powerful one on the board, that one being Delphox. Delphox is not a mon I have a ton of experience with, but it always seemed like a great low tier Terra option. With its high speed and special attack, good variety of attacking moves and coverage options, as well as utility moves such as Will-O-Wisp, Rancor and Wish, it can be very high value in a battle. I went with Terra Fire, Grass and Fairy for both offensive and defensive purposes. Terra Grass allows it to turn its biggest weaknesses into resistances, namely water and ground, and hit them and rock types super effectively, while Fairy lets it deal with dark and dragon types which would otherwise be a very big problem for it. Overall, I'd say I feel confident in this pick and I can't wait to try it out on the battlefield. And now it's time for our third and final Terra Captain, which is more of a defensive one, and a bit of a filler pick as we had most of our team roles filled by now. Plus it just looked like a fun option. It is Earthworm. This wormy fella is a great physical wall with its massive 145 base defense. It can act as a hazard setter with rocks and spikes, and it's a more conventional steel type than Corvinet, which is still immune to ground thanks to its ability Earth Leader. Its move pool is a bit shallow, I have to say, but given the right opportunity to set up Iron Defense or Coil, it can turn its massive defense into offense with Body Press to deal huge amounts of damage. As for Terra types, other than the mandatory Steel, I chose Terra Fighting to further boost the power of Body Press, and Terra Ghost for the fighting immunity. Though I might change it to Terra Water if I feel like I need a more traditional defensive Terra. With both Delphox and Arboliva on the team, I doubt Earthworm will see a lot of action as a Terra Captain, but it's going to be a good option to have in the back, and I'm looking forward to see what this funny guy can do. And with that, our team is not done yet, as we had 1 point left for our 11th pick. I initially didn't plan on spending it, but then I spotted one mon in the 1 point tier which stood out among the others, and I couldn't not take it. Keeping company to our worm fella is Wugtrio. I don't have much to say about this one. It looks funny and it's a worse version of Dugtrio, having the same stats but no access to a trapping ability. It is really fast with 120 base speed, and it can deal decent damage out of its 100 attack, more so if holding a choice band. Its move pool is very barren, but it does have a few coverage options in Stomping Tantrum, Throat Chop, Sucker Punch, and yeah, that's really it. The others are special moves which it does not want to use. At the very least, it can support its teammates with Memento and maybe finish off a few fast threats. I don't know. Realistically, I don't expect this thing to do much for us at all, but who knows, maybe it will surprise us all. Speed is always a plus after all. And now that is actually it. This is going to be our team for Season 10 of IBL. We are looking very balanced IMO, a lot of bulky offense with a few speedsters. We are missing a dragon type, and there are some holes that could be filled. Maybe I'll make a few trades in the coming weeks, but I don't know. I like where we are at. It is going to be a challenge for sure getting to work with mons I'm not used to, but hey, I'm up for it. That's most of the fun in draft, isn't it? Yeah, I'm excited to see where these guys can take us, and I hope you are too. Be sure to check out all the other coaches' DAs. I will link all their channels in the description, and tune in next week for our first battle of the season. I'll see you then. Bye!